This is Build Where You Are, an educational podcast series that is for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. Build Where You Are brings you the raw and uncut journeys of entrepreneurs across a range of industries. From food and beverage to apparel and business services, tune in to Season 1 to hear how 10 entrepreneurs built their businesses from the ground up. Welcome to another episode of Build Where You Are, an ESO Ventures podcast. My name is Akintunde Ahmad. I go by Tunde. I'm your host. And I'm really excited for today's guest because this is a guest who's actually been here for every episode. However, he's been on the other side of the camera. So all the production work that you see, the audio editing, the captions, the clips that we put on social, he's responsible for all of that. But he's also an ESO entrepreneur who completed one of our incubators. And so, one of the things that we do at ESO is ensure that people who have gone through our incubators and are in our ecosystem, we work with them, in the working world. Like, we actually have a business relationship with folks, because it's one thing to incubate and provide funding, but it's another to actually hire folks and really bring them into the ecosystem and work with your community. And so that's what we're striving to do. So without further ado, we have Darius Riley, AKA HourVoyses today.
Yes, indeed. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. I just wanted to kick it over to you immediately and just hear, how did you get started with HourVoyses, and really how did you get started in media work? Whether, I know you kicked off with photography originally, but tell us that origin story.
Absolutely. So I got started, the first time I've picked up a serious camera, like a DSLR, I was 12 years old. I was living at my high school in East Palo Alto, that's where I'm from. 650 all day, yada that mean. Now I was at East Side and living in the dorms, and my residential faculty member, we always go on trips, whether it be the Big Sur, Lake Tahoe, all these outdoor trips, and every time we would go, he would let me, my 12-year-old self, hold this $3,000 camera, $2,000 lens, and take pictures. And I would be like, I'm in a beautiful place, but every photo I took was like, it didn't match what my eyes saw. And that frustration lasted from 7th grade through high school up until my freshman year of college.
Gotcha.
When I ended up getting my first camera my freshman year of college.
What was it?
My second camera, my first DSLR. It was a Nikon D5300. I still got it.
Gotcha. Sentimental.
Yeah, sentimental. So I bought my first camera in college, and I went to the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, because I already loved photography up until that point, but I hadn't experimented with video much. And I was invited to go to the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March with a friend who was working on this honors project. And I realized I love not just taking photos, but interviewing people, asking people questions. This is for me, it felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I missed the first one. So just having the opportunity to see that many black people in one space, so many black men in one place, and my whole job is to talk to people and see why they're there. I was like, okay, I'm gonna run with it. Yeah. I can't tell you how many people I talked to that weekend, but I know it was very impactful for me. And after that, I realized a camera does more than just make things look beautiful, and it does more than help people see the world, but it allows the person with the camera the opportunity to hear the world, the opportunity to help other people share their voices.
Gotcha.
And I was like, okay, cool. That's 2015. I got sick 2016 and ended up having to take a semester off from college. And then that semester off, I went to San Jose State and took a digital media class. And one of the homework assignments was to create an Instagram account. Huh. You know what I'm saying? Literally, just as a portfolio.
And was HourVoyses the first account?
Yeah, okay. Exactly. That was my homework, and I came up with HourVoyses. I do like wordplay. I'm an undercover rapper.
We all are.
You know what I'm saying?
We all are.
Still waiting to go platinum. But yeah, that's when I came up with it. I was also inspired by like Humans of New York and the stuff that they were doing, and I wanted to kind of bring that energy to the Bay at the time.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, that's the origin story. Our Voices, of course, it's a kind of a double entendre mix of literary.
Right. Because
Art.
that's HourVoyses.
Absolutely.
Right.
So the HOUR, hours, because I'm literally capturing time, moments with the shutter speed, you know what I'm saying? And then OUR means it's collective moments.
Right.
Voy in Spanish means I go, or like, I think Latin for like voyage or something like that. So, and then you throw that with voices, like I'm going to capture our moments and our stories.
Gotcha.
So I try to put that all in one word, all in 2 words.
Good.
So yeah.
Gotcha. So it takes a lot, right, to go from something that is a passion or a hobby or, you know what I'm saying, something that you picked up on and are doing for the love, and then say, okay, now I want to do this as a business. And I know that this is what you do full time, like, you know what I'm saying, this is what you've been doing. Our Voices, is your media company. You've been doing photography, videography, documentary films, all of these things. And so where did you turn that switch where you're like, okay, not only is this something that I enjoy and then I like, but this is also something, A, that I can make money off of, but then B, not only can I make money off of it, but I can actually make a living off of it and turn that into a reality. So what was that process? When did you turn that corner and say, this is what I'm doing?
Man, I'll say it was a bunch of corners, a ton of corners. Just turning up the heat through time to see like, where's the demand and how do I fit the demand? And the first time I made money doing photography would have probably been, man, in college for sure. Not only did I do work study and have, a 20 hours of work a week on top of, full course load, but I was also doing another 20 hours of work of photography, just whether that be at events. I was shooting for the boat in Orient. I would pull up to every school event with my camera and take photos, and everybody knew Darius was gonna be there taking photos. And at first I was just like giving them out. And then eventually it got to the point where I'm like, hey, I'm working tonight. Like, so I had it set up so that after the event, it might be the Ebony Ball, it might be a football game or something like that. People could go to my website, see their photos, and my Venmo link was right there. And you tell me which one, I know exactly who you are. It's a small school, 1 for 5, 2 for, 3 for 10.
Gotcha.
Depending on how many photos I got of you that night. So I was trying to make that bread, bro. Make sure that my mom didn't have to touch nothing on that financial aid or that bill.
Yeah.
So there's that. That started like my freshman year. After that, I got sick. During that time off, I took a semester off, and that's when I realized, okay, back home, I started doing like photo shoots for proms, and event photography or birthdays. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm making money doing stuff like this is cool. I'm learning how to use my camera. I'm realizing you can make money doing photography outside of school. These are the different avenues. These are what people were doing. And I was charging like $75 an hour. And at the time I had an internship that was paying me $20 an hour. I was like, at this rate, if I do this properly, like, I don't have to do the internship. Right. But it's nice to have both, I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was my first time really putting food on the table for the family. I'm driving my mom's car to all these gigs, and every time I bring the car, she got a full tank and it's washed. You know what I'm saying? So I realized.
That goes a long way.
Exactly. I realized the work was enabling me to support my family.
Gotcha. And you were making 3 times the rate of the hourly work you were making at your internship.
Yeah. Actually, it was like $15 an hour, I want to say.
Oh, so you
5 times, 75.
4 or 5 times, yeah.
And that's still the minimum what photographers are charging as amateurs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Gotcha.
So I was like 18, 19 doing that.
Now, I got a question for you also, because I mean, you've talked about like, okay, cool, you got the camera put in your hand, the East Side prep, and then, you kind of just cut your teeth in college and just repetition. And I'm curious, because this is something I ask a lot of creative folks. We're in this era of access to information is as readily available as it's ever been. And you have a whole bunch of people out there who are putting videos on YouTube, or primarily YouTube, and what we call YouTube University is a big way that a lot of folks learn. Granted, with any skill you also have to put in the time and practice and experiment. But for you, was it like you took formal photography classes as well, or was it like I'm trial and error and I'm YouTube University on whatever I need to fill in between?
So let me take a step back. I went to school for neuroscience and chemistry.
Gotcha.
That's what I thought I was going to get my degree in. I didn't know if I was going to go pre-med or whatever.
Gotcha.
But after I got sick, that was a catalyst for me, like really wanting to lean into photography as a career. But my freshman year, when I first got that camera, that was probably my worst semester, not because, it was a big adjustment going to, a new school on the East Coast. But I spent so much time on YouTube watching videos about photography. Like, I spent more time on that than I spent on my classes, for real. And I didn't realize that was a sign that I knew what I wanted to do yet.
Right.
It was just, that's where my energy was going, because that's what I loved.
Right.
So yeah, YouTube University was clutch. I did end up only taking one photo class. I've only taken one photo class in my entire career. And it was a great class. It taught me how to see light. It taught me how to critique. It taught me how to be intentional about shooting. But I feel like after that, that's all I needed.
Gotcha.
I didn't really care for the dark room, but I did like shooting film. So, in regards to the formalization of it, I'll just say, hey, get it. Like, talk to mentors, learn from everybody, learn from everywhere, and always keep a camera on you. Yeah. Like, the only reason I got one on me right now is just they all on the tripods.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right, that's real. But yeah, I was just curious because, in the past, access to information, it was just more difficult to come by. Like, if you actually wanted to do things, it was either you say you just got to figure it out on your own, or you got to go encyclopedia or whatever it may be and like learn what is the shutter speed and what is aperture and what is the focal length of a lens and all of that. Whereas now it's like you can literally just get on YouTube and there's somebody who's explaining it, and they're explaining it with specification to your camera as well. And so, and it's not just, applying this to photography. I'm saying on the other side is people who focus on Lightroom and how do you edit in Photoshop, or how do you edit videos in Adobe Premiere. And then outside of even this realm, it's like, oh, you're a graphic designer. Here's how you use InDesign and Illustrator to do this. And so, I guess in this, world of creative careers, a lot of young folks also are having less of a barrier to entry to start doing this type of work, because that access to information is available. And so it's just something for folks to keep in mind as they're considering, like, potential ways to make money.
Absolutely.
And if you can find something that you actually enjoy and it balances with that, then that makes sense.
And in addition, like, yes, there's a lot of free information out there, and yes, you can go to school for photography. I took one class, right? Yeah. But I think it's worth investing in learning in your craft, right? Like, number one, I took LinkedIn learning courses during my internships to see how to use Premiere or Lightroom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's master classes out there. Like, yes, it's great to find your free information, and I'm glad that it's so accessible and there's so many options. But I think it's still worth, don't be scared to pay a fee to elevate faster.
Right.
Because that'll multiply infinite, times after that. So
you got LinkedIn Learning, you got lynda.com.
Lynda was clutch.
And then a lot of the folks who are on YouTube, of course, they're trying to monetize as well.
Yeah,
so
Skillshare.
Right. There's a lot of folks who you're on there and like they give you the free stuff on YouTube, but most of them actually have a course that you can take. And it's cool because the YouTube is like, okay, I can see that I learned something from this. They got the expertise that I actually want to tap into further. So maybe I will, purchase one of their classes or, their courses or whatever it may be. So now getting back to HourVoyses as we're switching gears. So now you're like, okay, cool. I'm seeing the rates that I can make compared to my internships. I'm seeing that folks are willing to pay for photos, from your freshman year. And you're like, okay, this is a way for me to actually provide. You actually reaping the benefits of these things. But throughout this time, you're still in school. So obviously you got the school and work-life balance going on. But upon, finishing and then entering this working world, what was it that made you say, okay, now I'm gonna take this leap of faith, and I'm setting up the LLC, I'm formalizing, and I'm jumping off the porch into this, and I'm gonna make it work. Like that leap to entrepreneurship for anybody is always a big step.
Yeah, I think, so it was like 2019, 2020, right before the pandemic, right before we knew it was a pandemic. Let's see, I just got an internship. Well, number one, I was ready to do video. I knew coming back home, I don't know how, but I was gonna try to take over the Bay with photo, video.
Got you.
But I had an internship right when I graduated, working at an ad agency based in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Shout out to Duncan Channing. When I was working with them, I worked on a bunch of campaigns, but one of their campaigns was the Vote From Home 2020 campaign. You know, I was working on the creative side, and they were like, Darius, we love your portfolio. Can we use some of these images? You know, actually the images they used, I took at Yale.
Got you. Okay.
Crazy enough.
Got you.
During the second time I came to the Black Solidarity Conference. So it was like 4 images that I took that they needed to use for the campaign. Luckily, I had these people's contact information.
To get clearance.
Right.
Yeah.
And I realized then, like, okay, this is a really dope internship. I'm making some cool bread, you know what I'm saying? But for what they about to pay me for these 4 photos?
Crazy. Yeah.
That was enough of a catalyst. That was one big catalyst for me. That was like that woke me up real quick. I was like, oh, this is the price for 4 photos that I took 3-4 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there was that element that was like, okay. I think that was the final push into being an entrepreneur, because I realized I didn't want to stick with the internship or with the work as a intern or working at the ad agency in that capacity.
Yeah.
So who knows? I might go back in the future.
Gotcha.
I say all that to say, before that, I did a road trip. I was on this documentary called Road Trip Nation, Do It Differently. And we took, we were supposed to take an RV around the country interviewing a bunch of leaders
Gotcha.
who found success off the beaten path. We call them dark horses.
Okay.
And one of the people that we met, his name's Atiba Jefferson, amazing photographer, like world-renowned, just had a show in LA actually. Like, he's been doing photography since a youngster, but he's like photographed everybody, Kobe, LeBron, you name it, bro.
Got it.
He got started in skateboarding. And I had a conversation with him. He was like, yeah, bro, I just bought a house for my mom off of photography. After that, I was like, okay.
It's real.
It's too real. Like, all I had to know is that it was possible.
Yeah.
And then the LLC was like the steps that came next. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I was making too much money to not have an LLC at a certain point.
That's how you know. That's how
I'm
you
buying
know
gear.
I'm
buying
I
gear.
need this write-off.
Exactly.
I need this write-off. And I mean, all right, that's a whole other side of business, and the perks of having an LLC. And, we've had folks on the show who talk about that, building business credit, getting your EIN, getting your DUNS number, and just a lot of benefits to having a businesses that folks don't often talk about. So, got you. And so now I'm curious, as we wrap, what's next? 5-10 years. I mean, I know you've been doing a lot of videography work, documentary work, but I know photography, it was like, your driver right there. So, what are the next steps for HourVoyses? Is it more focused on you as an individual and building up the acclaim? Is it like, now I'm building out more of a media company and being able to hire folks to do different things, or is it all encompassing?
I think it's all encompassing. There's a couple things that I'm preparing for. On the individual side, I would definitely like to create a book or create some art, just showcasing the work that I've been documenting, the things I've been documenting, all the travels, the people I've interacted with. I would love to have like a book that could just show what HourVoyses is on a individual level, my artwork.
Yeah.
I think in regards to the entrepreneurship, I'm in the process of expanding, right? Like, there's a lot of times, I get a lot of dope opportunities, and I can't always do it by myself. And I'm looking to have, a team of maybe 1 or 2 other people that can help me set up lights like this. I'm thankful for you because you can help me set up lights right now or set up cameras. But imagine if, HourVoyses has 2 or 3, other team members that could that could close a deal or like help with gigs that are just too big for one man to handle.
Yeah.
So I'm in that process. So those are two, and then I see 5-10 years from now, man, I want to empower as many people to have a camera, or whether it be the youth, whether it be older folks, whoever. I just want to, if I can get a camera into as many people's hands as possible before I'm off the planet, like that's a win for me. So I don't know what that looks like exactly, but that's the pathway I'm on.
Gotcha. And my closing question really is a why, because I have in my head why you want that many people to have cameras, but what is because some folks are, okay, cool, we have cameras, they don't think beyond that, but what is the importance of folks having these storytelling tools?
Man, I think for me, being from East Palo Alto, having a camera has allowed me to, number one, tap more in with my community by helping to tell my community's individual story. All right. So working on some pretty cool projects with the East Palo Alto Community Archive, personally making documentary work for stuff I'm doing in East Palo Alto.
Right.
Living in the going back to my high school to help teach photography to kids. For me, what a camera has done has helped me explore the world, open up doors and have conversations I never could have imagined, and learn things I never could have imagined, and connect the dots, and eventually come back and hopefully bring that information back.
Gotcha.
If I could enable the next generation, instead of one person, one Darius from East Palo Alto, maybe 10 of them, have them go, explore the world and have access to the globe through a camera, and then share that information with the next generation, it'll multiply. Or I can't think of my math term right now, but
exponentially.
Exponentially, absolutely. So that's the goal for me.
Yeah. Solid.
The camera can be a tool of freedom, and or like Gordon Price said, it could be a weapon. So, or both at the same time. So,
I feel like it's, like you said, it's the importance of telling your own narrative and just having more perspectives as well, because, I mean, me and my friends talk about this a lot, but people are subject to what the media shows them. It's so many people or types of people who you may never get the opportunity to interact with in person. So your perception of them is completely dependent upon the media that you've been shown.
Absolutely.
I may not ever get to Vietnam and, what I'm saying, and be able to interact with folks over there. However, if I'm limited to what an American view of them is that may have some propaganda or some agenda towards them, I may be completely, misconstrued into believing something about them that I don't. But if we're able to see folks from the Vietnamese perspective telling their own stories, then it's like, oh, okay, this is completely different than what it may be.
And even with that being said, right, the American view and the American agenda has controlled our perceptions of others in the world, as well as
ourselves,
how we perceive ourselves and how others perceive us. I remember being in the Czech Republic and kids being like, I asked the kids, what do y'all know black people to do? That was probably, I set them up.
That was the 1-2.
I set them up. 3. And one kid, he was Vietnamese, but we're not gonna get too much of that. Yeah. He was like, all I know that black people do, they play basketball, and they're really good at rapping, and they can dance. But there's no black people in the Czech Republic.
Right.
So that's all from the TV.
Yeah.
So there's that element, how we can control our own narrative, right? But also, I also think it's very valuable, us being black men or just being black African Americans.
Yeah.
How we, as African Americans, like not just an American view on things, but having an African American perspective on things. Like you going to Ghana as an African American and sharing what you see and documenting your process out there. Yeah. Like that is another, just specifically for us, can bridge a gap. So I hope I could do that same thing with photography, bridging gaps with people in Europe that don't know that they have connections like on the same level, that they can relate to African Americans in America.
That's real.
Or vice versa. So yeah.
Very real. Yeah. I know you and I could, we have talked all day about these things, but I do just want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us, to be on Bill Where You Are today. And it's important that we got you on here because, like I said, Darius is always on the other side of the camera. You can find him online at HourVoyses, Our Voices. And yeah, we just appreciate you for all the work that you do with us from the production side, but also on your perspective today. So
For sure, brother. Thank you, man.
see you at the next one.
Yes, sir.